Flashing lights dance with fire in the night. I'm wired. Watch the time pass us by. Is this feeling lying? Could you pass the lighter? Yeah, I'm trying to keep my cool. Nicotine in my veins, flaming up desires. What am I supposed to do? Cause it feels so good. Feeling wild like a zoo. Put me in a mood. Put me in a mood. Maybe I should've known that it ain't real. How'd you know how to get into my feelings? You're a trip giving me hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Maybe I should've known that it ain't real. How'd you know how to get into my feelings? You're a trip giving me hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. You're a trip giving me hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Yeah. Moving through all my feels, you're blurring out my vision. Watching your every smile like your television.
Okay guys, test.
In your eyes I see myself, I'm falling. Make it make sense, it must be the temptation speaking. What am I supposed to do? Cause it feels so good. Feeling wild like a zoo. Put me in a mood. Put me in a mood. Maybe I should've known that it ain't real. How'd you know how to get into my feelings? You're a trip giving me hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Maybe I should've known that it ain't real. How'd you know how to get into my feelings? You're a trip giving me hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Maybe I should've known that it ain't real. How'd you know how to get into my feelings? You're a trip giving me hopeless solution. Hopeless solution. Hopeless solution.
I'm up the shit with my brother. I'm up the shit with my. I'm up the shit with my brothers. Keep lethal weapons and Glover. First make a young nigga thugger. You know best friend is a cover. Girl on me bouncing like Flubber. Boy young with money like Stunner. 300 a pint pour all summer. Shoot on sight if you fuck with my come up. Your boy got a license to stunt this. Shoot on sight isn't right, but we gunning. Sippin' Sprite pour all night at the function. Yeah, we bumped 21, ain't no jumping. See the X and the X did the dumb shit. Said I rock one-on-one how I've done shit. In your eyes, see you jump if I smoke this. But X when I flex for the youngin'.
Your boy got a license to stunt this. Shoot on sight isn't right, but we gunning. Sippin' Sprite pour all night at the flight at the phone. Pull up to the club. Pop that.
I can't do this right now.
Work your fingers to the bone. I know you can keep me warm. Don't you leave, it's getting cold. I got you and you got me. Don't be scared if we gon' bleed. Love and war, the same damn thing. Yeah. Oh love, it's like I'm fading away. I want more, I want more. Oh love, I really want you to stay. We'll push it to the edge for real. We'll push it to the end now. We'll push it to the end now. I want you.
Hello there guys, this will be a test. How's everyone doing tonight? My name is Phoebe Thomas and today we will be racing around Pam Pam Pam. You guys shouldn't know yet, but I know that of course already. So this is just a quick test to see how the quality is, how everything is going. Because I've done something about my microphone. It's not getting better, it's getting worse, but it's for the better. So hopefully it will be better. Hello, hello, hello there, guys. How is everyone doing tonight? My name is Phoebe Thomas, and I will be racing on the Speed Force. Well, not I won't be racing. I will be commentating on the Speed Force Racing YouTube channel. Today, we will be racing around Mexico with a short qualifying and a 50% race. And I hope all of you are doing quite fine. All right, this evening, Alex Haw in the chat. Hey, hey, how are you doing, buddy? I'm just gonna. I'm not sure what I'm gonna do. I'm just gonna wait until the PlayStation sound is alright, and I'm just gonna test out some stuff. Test out some microphone settings because yeah, you guys might have noticed already that a couple of times my microphone has dropped in the middle of the fight, in the middle of a live stream. And there's only one solution to this, and that's making it worse. Well, sound worse than it is. Welcome, Noldus, in the chat. How are you doing, buddy? But that's making it sound worse than it is, so it is going to sound a little bit worse than it usually is. My apologies for that. But I'm just trying out some new settings, trying to make it as comfortable to listen to for you guys as possible. But I cannot assure that that will be the case. So we've got a short qualifying first. It is going to be a Q1 here around Mexico. Mexico, of course, a beautiful track, and is Alex Hall going to be the first one again to go out on a lap? Yes, indeed he is. Yes, indeed he is. No, it's not Alex Hawk, it's Mark Werty, of course. Mark Werty currently still in the pits. Wait, it's not Mark Werty, it's Alex Hawk indeed. Oh, that's quite interesting. So I'm just going to listen to the live stream real quick, and I will be back in a second. Right, yeah, so it seems like the microphone is yeah, it's not bad. You know, it's not great, but it's not bad either. And I hope you guys are doing fine. Martin in the chat, welcome, buddy. How are you doing, mate? How are you doing? Alex Hawk is the first one out on track, and we will be analyzing the track based on his POV. He's currently in Sector 2 through the S's, but we will focus on that later, of course, when he's doing a full wrap around Mexico. It is very, very noticeable that there's a lot of track limits around the outside on every corner. Well, I mean, it's always there, but usually you have a wall or something like that, which you definitely don't want to touch. Here in Mexico, that's not the case. There's also a lot of runaway room around the outside, which is very annoying for track limits, of course. The guys who want to push everything. Mike sounds perfect to me. Thank you very much, Martin. It's not perfect. I know that for sure. If you listen to the last couple of live streams, that quality is way better. But this one, I mean, I had to delete the program from my Focusrite, from my audio interface, because every time that I opened an app or that I did something on my PC, it dropped out my microphone and my headset and all that kind of stuff. So, I mean, you know, it's deleting it for the better. It's making it worse for the better, because sometimes I would be in a battle, in the middle of a battle or something like that, and it's not fun if it's like that. If my microphone drops out in the middle of a battle or something like that, it made me very annoying too, and furious and all that kind of stuff. So thank you very much for assuring me that it sounds alright. But I mean, I can definitely hear that it doesn't sound alright. I mean, Alex Hawk, I was telling you guys, there's a lot of track limits here in Mexico, especially through those S's in Sector 2. Because, you want to go through there as fast as possible. Don't touch the brake. Don't touch... I mean, you probably would want to touch the throttle. But you don't want to touch anything else than the throttle. You don't want to lift. You don't want to touch the brakes, anything. It's not always easy. If you find the right line, it should be doable to not touch the brakes. Probably you should lift a little bit through those corners. But he's going to go for another one. I'm not sure if he's got enough ERS left. We should definitely take a quick look at that. He doesn't have enough ERS left, but I think he will be going on another one anyway. The V-car in a fast lap. We might want to go with Calvin Racing, the Red Bull driver, currently in P19, but he hasn't put a lap in yet. Turn 1, hard braking zone. Turn 2, 90 degrees corner. And turn 3, another 90 degrees corner. And then we've got a DRS straight. You take that DRS from the first straight down the, one of the longest straights here in the F1 calendar. Then we were going into turn 4, 90 degrees corner, turn 5, 90 degrees corner, hard braking zone, which you do have a lot of runway room around the outside, turn 6 and 7 to enter Sector 2. And then we're going into a DSS. So turn 8, turn 9, turn 10, all very fast corners. And we've got turn 11. There we go. And he almost invalidates. Pole time guesses. Good question. I couldn't tell you for sure. I would say a 116.9 maybe. Maybe, yeah, high 916s, maybe low 117s. I see that Keeps put a 117, but I think Calvin Racing will definitely be able to put a 116 on the board. Although it will be, yeah, it will be a 117.0. So 116.9 is my guess. I'm pretty sure someone will be able to beat that 117.0 from Calvin Racing as the track evolves, as the track is getting a little bit faster to the end of the session. And hopefully that is going to be the case. So let's go on board with Mr. Wiggles. The Alfa Romeo driver is currently coming through the S's. A 16.5 according to Martin. That is very optimistic. But I could see it happen. There's a little bit of a spread between P1 and P12, which is Doran in 118.7. So I do think Doran will be able to improve a little bit more. Ellie with an unfortunate P11. Still, a lot of guys have to come across the line, such as Mr. Wiggles, who's coming around the last corner, and he wants to take a tight line coming through that part of the track, but he decides not to, comes into P11 with a 118.4. You might want to go on board with Mansell, one of the faster guys here. Rama in the chat with a 116 guess. Definitely a possibility, but I think a 116.6 is a little bit too optimistic. You know, a 116.5 is optimistic too, but I'm not sure. Mansell, he might be able to put himself on pole with a 116, as the driver will go off track there a little bit to leave some room for Mansell. Was that his teammate? I would say so. Oliver, who's still on an outlap right behind Mansell, and he will get the toe down the straight when Mansell finishes off his fast lap. So coming through the S's, he's got that AlphaTauri right in front of him, so you definitely need to watch out. Yellow flags all the way through Sector 2, as there's also an Alpine driver going very, very slow. What are both drivers going to do right ahead of Mansell? It seems like the AlphaTauri driver is not going to leave space. He is indeed going to leave space. He's going to go off track all the way to the deepest corner of that turn 12, I think. And here we go, Mansell coming around the last corner, and he needs good traction coming off this line. It will be a 116, a 117 maybe, a 117.6 to put himself in P5 for now. But Utkarsh put himself in P4. Not a very surprising result. Utkarsh has been up there during the qualifyings, but hasn't been able to put that same... is he able to put that same result in the race? I'm not 100% sure. It could be, but it also couldn't be. And we've got Energy Dan with a surprising 116.9. He's on a provisional pole for tonight. And Energy Dan is usually one of the guys who is able to put a good qualifying performance during the beginning of the session and then drops down significantly during the end of the qualifying session, just because, you know, all the other guys are feeling that the track is getting faster. They're more experienced. I don't know. They're not more experienced, but they're a little bit faster than Energy Dan. But it does look like this is one of Energy Dan's favorite tracks, and it might be one of his best too, currently in P1. You might want to go on board with Oliver here as he's coming through the SS. He invalidated though, so he won't get too much of that little toe from Mansell down the straight in Sector 1. But we do want to keep our eyes open for Mindful Wasp as he's coming through the S's at the moment. Turn 8, 9, 10, and 11. 9, 10, 11. Oh, it's even 12. Wait, did I make a mistake in my counting? I don't think I made a mistake in my counting, did I? I'm not sure. Mindful Wasp coming through turn 12. I always thought that was turn 12. I think it is turn 12. I should Google that. After this race. Here we go. Coming through Sector 3. A very difficult corner section in Sector 3 because you've got that little U-turn. You've got that fast left-hander. You've got that fast right-hander. All that kind of stuff. As Cassidy puts himself in P1 for now, 116.8, and I think that will definitely be the time we are looking at during this qualifying session. We might be seeing a 16.7, but I think a 116.5 is too optimistic. As I said before, Mindful Wasp with a 117.8. We might want to go on board with Oliver. And, you know, my qualifying guess has also been wrong because the 116.9 has also been beaten. So you never know what to expect unless the guys are actually putting the times on the board, putting the times on the table, because that shows how good they are during this fine Monday evening. And you know what the thing is? The guys need to be, they need to push themselves. They need to push themselves. And if you're going into a qualifying lap and you see that Cassidy put himself in a 116.8, you definitely want to try and grab a 116.6, a 116.7 to try and get that little gap to Cassidy in case he would improve. And that's how people are going to push each other, putting themselves ahead of each other, on top of each other. 116.8. The next qualifying guy, the next fast qualifying guy would be a 116.79. The other guy would be a 116.74. And then it always, they're pushing themselves and they're going around the track as fast as they can and pushing trying to search those track limits as much as possible. And Alex Hawk got dropped to B14. I think he's on a fast lap, but he got hindered by the Alfa Romeo through turn 8, if I'm not mistaken. And here comes Alex Hawk coming around the last corner. It might be a good time for the Aston Martin driver. It will be a 117. A 117.4 puts him in P6. Not bad at all, as he puts himself right in front of Utgars, who had a 117.5, and right behind Keeves was put a 117.1. So once again, another great qualifying and not a lot of gaps in between the drivers. We've got Cassidy with a 116.8, Energy Dan with a 116.9, Tashkern with a 117.0, so does Calvin Racing, and then we've got Keeves with a 117.1, so only 3 tenths in between P1 and P5, which is very, very uncommon. Mansell still on the fast lap. I think he's going to go on another one. Does he have enough ERS left? It does look like it, coming down the straight, and the guys want to have as low wings as possible to go through this long, very long straight, one of the longest straights here in the F1 calendar. As I said before, I think that this is one of the longest, together with China and Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan would be the longest if those little corners through Sector 3 wouldn't count, but of course they do count. Mansell up by 10 coming through Sector 1, as he's coming through Sector 2 at the moment. Into Turn 6, into Turn 7 goes the English driver, and he wants to gain some time through the S's. Through Turn 8, 9, 10, and 11, as that is where he will gain the most time, according to my knowledge. And here he comes going through. As I said, he's not going to try and break too much through the S's, and he wants to floor down the throttle as much as possible, up by 3 tenths on his time. Takes a little bit of curb down the inside. Beautifully done as he's coming through Sector 3 at the moment. What will Mansell be doing? Will he be putting himself on pole? Will it not be enough? I don't think it will be enough if he gained only a 3 tenths, because that will put him only in the top 6. So let's have a quick look. A 117.2 puts him in P6 with a 4/10 improvement for the Haas driver. So let's go on board with a couple of guys here at the back. Mr. Wiggles, as the Alfa Romeo driver, he is on a fast lap. Oh no, he's not on a fast lap. He just let his teammate go through, didn't he? Oh, the V-car up by 3 tenths and a half, as that would possibly put him in the top 13, pushing down MCFC, Shaggy, and Mr. Wiggles, his own teammate. Mr. Wiggles still has to perform an outlap. Good evening, Sai. How are you doing, mate? In the chat. And he improves by 5 tenths, puts himself in P11. Not a bad result by the V-car at all. It seems like Utgard is also on a fast lap. Improved by 4 tenths, it looked like. So did he improve? He did improve. He did improve by 4 tenths, putting himself in P5. But still, the top 4 have to perform a better qualifying lap to be able to come, well, anywhere near a pole time. Cassidy with a 116.8. I think that will definitely get beaten by either Calvin Racing or maybe Keeves. Keeves, who is currently in P6, still in the pit lane, but I do definitely give him a chance at winning this pole position here in Mexico. He's one of the faster guys, one of the most consistent guys during qualifying. He's always up there, but he kind of loses a little bit of concentration during the race, and that is not always playing into his advantage. So let's have a quick look with Utgars. He's probably coming into the pits because he's 8 seconds down on his time. Mindful Walk not up on his time. The V-car is probably not up on his time either. What is Mad G doing at the moment? On a fast lap. It does look like it. Does he have enough ERS left? It does look like it. Some of the guys are going to be spinning in the race. Running no downforce is a real issue here. That is completely true. The problem that the guys are also going to be having is overheating. Overheating of the tires. So if your tires are overheating and if you've got a little bit of, struggles coming through the S's, you're definitely going to spin into the wall. He improves by 5/10, puts himself in P8 with a surprising 117.3. But as I said, you know, here around Mexico, coming through Sector 1, it's not very tire consumable. I mean, tire overheating, you know, all that kind of stuff. Only through that first part of Sector 2, where you've got turn 4, 5, 6, and 7, then entering the S's. At the end of the S's, your tires will be boiling. You will be able to cool them down a little bit again down that third DRS straight, entering Sector 3. But then, of course, you are going to be struggling coming into turn 12, 13, 14, and 15 again. And it will just be such a hard way, such a hard challenge to keep your tires cool. I definitely wouldn't suggest starting on the soft tires because you will be struggling. And it's also 36 laps, so medium hards will be the best strategy if you ask me. But of course, if there is an early safety car due to tire overheating, you will be able to go for a soft medium medium, or a soft medium hard, or a soft medium soft, or a soft medium medium, or a soft hard soft, or a soft hard medium. You never know. There's a lot of multiple, strategies working here around Mexico. I've seen people win it with a soft, medium strategy. I've seen people win it with a medium hard strategy. It's just, it depends on the amount of safety cars, and that is something we will be seeing quite often here around Mexico. Alex Hawk in P9. Matt G retires from the session. And I'm not sure whether Alex Hawk is on a fast lap at the moment. It does look like it, but it doesn't look like he's improving by anything. And there he goes into the wall, loses a front wing. It doesn't look like he's stuck, but he's coming back into the pits. Won't be able to improve anymore, I'm afraid. Keeves on a fast lap, entering Sector 2 in a second. Coming down the DRS straight. He's got a car right in front of him that is an AlphaTauri. Needs to watch out. I think the AlphaTauri will definitely have to leave space for Keeves. Keeves not up on his time. Only 85,000 slower than his previous qualifying lap. But it does look like that AlphaTauri is going to make it difficult for Keeves. He will cause some kind of dirty air for the Alpine driver. And let's have a quick look how Keeves is going to tackle this, because he definitely got to be frustrated with that AlphaTauri driver right in front of him. I think that AlphaTauri driver is Energy Dan. He still has a lot of room, but you can never be, more secure. He's up by 2/10 coming into Sector 3, and that will possibly put him in the top 3. So very, very surprising result here from Keeves coming around to the last sector. And it looked like coming through turn 14, it was kind of squirky as he went a little bit too much onto the curb. Here he comes. 400ths of an improvement will only be a P5 for Keeves, who's definitely having a good time coming through Sector 1 and Sector 2. But he kind of lost that time again in Sector 3, and that puts him in P5. Tashkaren on a fast lap. We've just seen him pass Mr. Keeves, as Keeves is down the inside right there. I know it's someone else I was talking about, don't worry. Seems like nobody else is retiring yet, so does that mean that Matt G maybe has crashed out and put himself in the wall? That could be a possibility, as we're currently on board with Energy Dan, not up on his time, as he's 1/10 down on his time coming through the S's, and this should be a place where he should gain a little bit of time, but I think a 1:16.9 is definitely a great time, and he's up on his time. 2/10 up on his time. What will he be doing here through Sector 3? Will it be the first pole time of the season for Energy Dan coming through the third sector, coming around the last corner? What will the AlphaTauri driver be doing? He won't be able to go out for another one, and he tries to go, and he puts himself on pole, a 1:16.6. And that is definitely not something we would have expected. Tashkaren also up on his time, 2.5 for the Mercedes driver, almost invalidates, as he has a little bit of a snap coming through that part of the track. And here he comes, takes a very tight line, coming through the line, and it will be a 1:17.0, but it won't improve his position. What will Calvin Racing be doing? Oh, puts himself in P2, and Energy Dan, I think he's done it. He's done it. Energy Dan putting himself on pole for tonight, a 1:16.6. Not a bad lap at all by the AlphaTauri driver. Utgard is still on the lap, but I think it will be very hard for him to get himself on pole. He needs to improve by 5/10, and will it be a possibility? He's got someone right in front of him. and he will be able to use the DRS. He might be up to it. He might be up to it. 3.6 tenths of an improvement through Sector 1 and Sector 2. Here he comes through Sector 3. Doesn't take a very tight line coming through turn 14, into turn 15, into turn 16. Goes Utgars. Will it be an improvement for the Williams driver? A very tight line coming through the last corner, and it will be an improvement, but it won't be good enough for a top 3 position. Utgars in P5. Mindful Wasps has sneaked through that little, through the grid, through the pack, and he puts himself in P3 for now. I think everyone has done their qualifying lap. Still 2 more people to come into the pits, as I'm just gonna have a quick listen to the live stream and see how it is going to be. 1 second, 1 second, 1 second. Test. Right, so it seems like the quality of the microphone is all right. So here we've got our standings of tonight. I'm just going to delete the camera so the guys will be able to get it off stream and put it somewhere. I don't know. So Energy Dan puts himself on pole for tonight. A 116.6. Mr. Rama in the chat was correct. Congratulations, mate. You receive nothing. Calvin Racing in P2 and Mindful Wasp in P3. Cassidy in P4 and Utgars in P5. And further we've got Tashkern, Keeves, Mr. Wiggles, Mansell, Prep, Maggi, Alex Hawk, the V-Car, Doran, MCFC, Shaggy, Ellie, Mark Worthy, Oliver, and Gox all the way in P20. So that will be the results of the short qualifying here in Speed Force Racing. And Rama, I said you didn't receive anything, but you receive recognition. That is also very great. I just have to do something very quick on my phone because my girlfriend has urged me to do it. And apparently it is very important. So it just takes 1 minute as I'm trying to find my way through the app. Where can I find that? Here we go. It doesn't work. What? Oh, I know what's wrong. So I need to leave this one. There we go. There's a game we played together, and she wanted to be, I don't know if you guys know it, but it's what's it called? It's called, I don't know what it's called. There we go. Okay. It's called Heyday. And it's you basically have your own farm. Not that I want to be a farmer or anything, but you have your own farm. You have to, grow and have sheep and cows and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. But it is something very funny. So, just reading chat here. Rama in the chat. Cheers, Thomas. No worries, mate. And you've got Patty in the chat. Come on, Keith, a lot. So, Keeves, we have got a little fan of yours in the chat, and hopefully you're going to make him as happy as possible here around Mexico and grab that race win. You never know, but it could be a possibility here for you, for the Alpine drivers. So, hopefully that will be a possibility for Mr. Keefe, but you never know. We're currently just chilling in the comms booth with all of you guys, watchers. What's your guys' prediction on the top 3? Make sure to let me know. I will give you my predictions too after you guys have set your predictions. Although no, I'm gonna give mine already. So let me have a quick think, right? So I'm gonna go with, who's in P2? Calvin Racing. I'm gonna go race win for Calvin Racing. Let me have a quick think who I'm putting in P2 though. Let me have a quick think. I have no idea. Who I'm putting in P2. Might want to go with Utkarsh for some reason. I feel like he's a very good driver and he's a very consistent one, but sometimes lacks a bit of concentration. So I'm going with Utkarsh in P2. And who I'm putting in P3, guys? I have no idea. Who am I putting in P3? Mindful Wasp. I'm putting Mindful Wasp in P3. I think Energy Dan, with his pole time, he's just going to lose a little bit of time to the other guys. And I think he will also pick a different strategy than all the other guys. So I'm not sure what to expect from all those guys, but I think Energy Dan won't be able to get up there with the rest of the guys. So, I mean, I hope he is. I hope he can. I hope he will. But, I mean, it's just a little prediction that I'm having. So let's have a quick look on the tires here from all the guys. Tire-wise, we're looking at a very, very unanimous decision. Hard tires for everyone except for 3 drivers, the V-Car, Shaggy, and Gox, all starting on the medium tires. So I'm just going to have another quick look at the live stream as I changed some settings. So hopefully they will still be alright. Sounds about right. Sounds about right. I think I'm also gonna boot up this real quick. So I'm gonna put it to, let me have a quick look. 32.5. That should do it. That should do it for you guys. So you guys should be able to hear the game sound a little bit louder. You should be able to hear me a little bit louder. So hopefully that is to your wishes. To your wishes. So here we've got a couple of guys starting from the front row. That is, of course, Energy Dan and Calvin Racing. I think I'm trying to think of who starts on the inside line because that's where you want to be. But the annoying thing around Mexico is it's such a long runaway room before you're actually getting to the first corner. As you can see, the finish line is at the beginning of the straight. The turn 1 is at the end of the straight. I mean, obviously, but it's such a long way. So you get a lot of slipstream from the guy ahead, starting in P2, starting in P3, starting in P4. And you will be able to see a lot of overtakes down the straight due to that slipstream, due to that very powerful slipstream down the first straight. So here we've got Energy Dan starting on the outside, which is also a very annoying thing actually. You usually want to start on the inside line of the corner, which you will be able to defend. But now it doesn't look like... Yeah, P2 is on the inside apparently, according to Sai. I just saw it myself, but thank you very much, Sai. Kiev fan club in the house, according to some other guys. Martin in the chat is also a Kiev fan. And then we've got Melissa. Patty? Who's Patty? Is that Kiev's? I think it is Kiev's. Ah, his real name is Patty. I didn't know that. So Patty the baddie, Patty the racer. Here we go. Energy Dan starting in P1. Guys, we're currently in Season 15, Round 11 of the Mexico Grand Prix here in Speed Force Racing. We've got 5 red lights. And away we go. It seems like there's a very good start from Mindful Wasp in P3. He's already going around the outside of Calvin Racing down the straight. And it just depends on who has the better straight line speed. It seems like Calvin Racing is trying to benefit from that slipstream. Around the outside he goes. Energy Dan has to defend the inside line. And he will be able to defend that inside line. Calvin Racing has to give up his position. Still down the inside though. As it seems like Mindful Wasp has been overtaken by Cassidy. We'll try to go make that overtake again. And there's a lot of mistakes. A lot of overtakes at the back of the grid here. We've got a lot of... Oh, and Energy Dan is getting overtaken by Calvin Racing, but he takes that position again. Calvin Racing trying to make a switchback work. Will he be able to do so? Doesn't look like it. Energy Dan down the inside, and it seems like the Red Bulls find themselves in an AlphaTauri sandwich. But it's definitely a Red Bull, well, the brand representation here in Speed Force Racing, as we've got 4 of the drivers from Red Bull themselves in the top 4. As Keeves took 2 positions down that first race start, that first lap. And we've got 6 positions gained for AKG, although he finds himself in a very difficult position with Mansell right behind him. Tashkern lost 5 positions during that first lap here around Mexico, but it doesn't look like we've got any significant drops during that first start. Usually you see one of the guys at the beginning of the race, at the beginning of the grid, drop down many positions due to a crash, but it seemed all clean here in Speed Force Racing tonight. As we're just going to have a quick look with Mansell, 7/10 behind AKG. Doesn't look like he's going to be able to make that overtake. What will Mindful Wasp be doing? It seems like Calvin Racing is trying to go down the inside. Here he comes. Cassidy down the inside of his own teammate is going to let him go through, as you of course don't want to battle too much with your teammate. And will Mindful Wasp be able to benefit from that? Here comes Keeves down the inside, and he makes a 2-way overtake. 2 wide, 3 wide going into turn 4, and Keeves takes the position going around the outside. Has a little bit of wheel banging there with Cassidy, still has the inside line, and there's a little bit of wheel damage, not wheel damage, but front wing damage, I think, for Mindful Wasp as he tapped the back from Keeves coming through turn 6. So you might want to have a quick look with Matt G here as he's gained 3 positions. A good start from the Ferrari driver. Right behind Mr. Wiggles coming through the S's. It seems like he's losing a little bit of time to Mr. Wiggles. A little bit of an awkward line there through turn 9 and 10. So you might want to go on board with MCFC, who was trying to catch the Ferrari driver. Mansell lost some time. He also lost the position to Tashkern. So I think those two have been battling very, very heavily. You might want to go to the back of the grid, although we're coming down the straight again. And everyone is not going to be able to use the DRS yet. Energy Dan with the fastest lap for now. He's definitely pushing. He's pushing those hearts to the limits. MCFC now recaptures that fastest lap. And now Oliver recaptures that fastest lap. He's gained 6 positions. He might have had a qualifying ban starting from P19. MCFC makes the overtake down the inside of Matt G right there. And the DRS has been enabled. Not yet, though. They have to wait to till Sector 2, entering Sector 3. As it's still Energy Dan in the lead. Still 33 laps to go here in Mexico, but we've already tackled 3 beautiful wrap, yeah, eat tacos, you know. No. We've already tackled 2.5 beautiful laps here around Mexico. So we're just going to go on board with Mindful Wasp. He's just been very strong. Did lose 2 positions, but he's still on the back of that Alpine driver. And I think Keith will definitely be able to take him closer to the Red Bull drivers rather than himself taking himself to, well, closer to the Red Bull drivers. It looked like he had a little bit of a snap there coming through the S's. Matt G getting a 3-second time penalty, and that will be the first of many penalties seeing tonight. And both Aston Martins are at the back of the grid. It seems like Alex Hawk has caused the crash or caused himself to crash. That could be a possibility too, as the top 5 has taken a bit of a lead to the rest of the grid. Utkarsh is trying to take the toe of Mindful Wasp, but he's not managing to do so. And it will be Calvin Racing. Oh, he's not close enough. Energy Dan, who had a good Sector 3, keeping Calvin Racing behind him with the DRS. And what will Keeves be doing? Because he is hungry for more. He wants to get into that top 3. He's got a lot of fans in the comms box. And, you know, in the live stream, here comes Calvin Racing with the use of DRS. Around the outside goes the Red Bull driver. And what Cassidy has to do right now is put a lot of pressure on the back of Energy Dan, because usually Energy Dan wants to get that position back as soon as possible. Because also the thing here is, if you're behind someone for such a long time, for so close, you're gonna have overheated tires, you're gonna have more tire wear, all that kind of stuff, and that's not really what you want. So you want to grab that lead of the race again and try to race in clean air, because the guys are now running in dirty air, which is making it even more impossible to make the overtake. It seems like Keeves is on the tail of Cassidy, willing to put in the pressure on the Red Bull driver at the moment, but it doesn't look like he will be able to make that move anytime soon. Cassidy got back within that DRS zone of Energy Dan, and here they come through the last part of the track. Will it be a better position for Keeves? I wouldn't say so. Depends on whether he gets a good exit coming around the last corner. Doesn't look like it. Has a 4:10 gap to Cassidy. DRS wide open for Alpine driver though. Alpine, that is such a broke sentence. Here comes Energy Dan around the outside with the use of DRS, and he will be able to make that overtake. And I think Cassidy will possibly make the overtake again on Calvin Racing with the use of DRS, because now through the second DRS straight, Calvin Racing will not have the DRS, so it will be an overtake by Cassidy possibly. And will Cassidy be able to keep Keeves behind him? Doesn't look like it. Keeves down the inside, backside of it again though, goes back onto the racing line right behind Cassidy, and here they come through turn 5 into turn 6 and 7, and then we're entering the difficult part again. Mindful Wasp with a deep dive bomb coming from miles away. Beautiful overtake from Mindful Wasp, which I'm being honest, gets back into P4, and Keeves lose that position again. Unfortunately enough, he will be dropping back to P5, and Utkarsh got back within the DRS zone. So that means we will be having a 6-way battle instead of a 5-way battle, which is making it even more difficult for Keeves to get that position back with someone right on his back. Calvin Racing will have the DRS once again, and he really needs to push a little bit here through Sector 3, because it seems like he's significantly losing time to Energy Dan through Sector 3, and that might be the reason why he's not able to catch up down the straight. Look at that, 6:10, 6.18. Well, yeah, indeed, 6.18. DRS wide open. Cassidy will possibly make an overtake on his own teammate. He will not go for it, I think. but he's getting a little bit impatient. You saw him swerve a little bit through the straight to find a gap past his teammate, and I mean, he's feeling the pressure from behind. That's the thing here around Mexico. You've got the DRS opportunities, and you're really feeling the pressure from behind. Cassidy once again looking down the inside, and that might be a sign to his teammate, letting him know, you know what, Calvin, please let me go through, because you're not making the overtake on Energy Dan, and you're just wasting time for both of us. And I think if Cassidy makes the overtake on Calvin Racing and then makes the overtake on Energy Dan, Calvin Racing might be able to capitalize from that, and then the Red Bull drivers will be able to switch positions during the DRS straights. And that is really important for them at this point during the race. Still 30 more laps to go, so we're just going to have a very long race. Calvin Racing down the inside makes the overtake into turn 14. I've looked it up. It's turn 14. And Cassidy already making an overtake around the outside, but it looked like he had to back out of that. Was a little bit too enthusiastic coming through that part of the track and went a little bit too deep into that corner. Now Utkarsh at the back of this grid, and it seems like MCFC is trying to get back to this little group. What will Dan be doing with the use of DRS around the outside? He goes in a beautiful overtake down the straight. I mean, it's quite obvious. Here comes Cassidy, and there's a little bit of chaos coming through. Oh, keeps down the inside, tried to look for it. But the room was not there, unfortunately. Mindful Wasp was already coming through the corner when Keeves wanted to go down the inside, so he really had to press the brakes very, very heavily there. And now Mindful Wasp might be able to make that overtake around Cassidy. Down the inside he goes, and Cassidy backs out of it. A little bit of an early break there from the Red Bull driver. That might have been a little bit dangerous if Mindful Wasp went back onto the racing line. Cassidy's still down the inside. Mindful Wasp is not going to give up though, but I think Cassidy is going to run away with this position. As you can see, Cassidy retaking P3. Keeves is trying to benefit from that battle as he wanted to go down the inside. Once again, coming through the corner, he wanted to make that overtake, but you need to make that overtake before the corner is there. Cassidy losing it. Cassidy is the first one to lose it, entering the S's. As I said before, entering the S's is just such a hard way to keep your tires satisfied. And that is definitely, well, Cassidy's tires are definitely not satisfied at all. Dropped 12 positions already from where he started, as he's currently in P16. Alex Hawk now making a move on his teammate. And Shaggy dropped to P22, so does he have a broken front wing? I'm not 100% sure. But now Calvin Racing is alone in this little battle. It seems like Energy Dan has got his teammate right on his back. And I think Mindful Wasp will be able to make that overtake down the straight with the use of DRS on Calvin Racing. And here comes Keeves, wanted to make a move down the inside. He's got to back out of it. And now this is the chance for both the AlphaTauri drivers to take the lead of the race. As Mindful Wasp will have the DRS. We will possibly be seeing an overtake. DRS wide open for Mindful Wasp. Will he be making the overtake? Wants to go around the outside. And I think he's going to back out of it. No, he's not going to back out of it. Touches wheels with the Red Bull driver. And I think, I'm not sure, but I think Calvin Racing went a slight bit to the right. And that's where they clinched wheels, but I could be wrong. Mindful Wasp might have just been too aggressive entering that corner section. But you never know. Now it's once again a 5-way battle. MCFC is trying to get back to the toe of his teammate. And I think he's able to do so. Look at that, 9/10 for MCFC. And now it's a 8-way battle for P1. It's a very tight pack. As you can see, all the way from P1 to P8, the guys have the DRS, and also Mad G is trying to get back to the tail of Tashkern. So it could be that, a McLaren driver has crashed out. That is Ellie. Well, let's have a quick look with Keeves here again, down the straight. Seems like he's possibly having a chance to make the overtake this time around. Around the outside he goes. DRS wide open for Keeves. And there will be an overtake. Will Mindful Wasp be battling back? Doesn't look like it. He might be. He might be making a very deep dive bomb, and he does indeed. Almost goes into the back of the Red Bull driver. There goes Keeves, losing the toe of his car. Well, losing the rear of his car. Losing the toe of his car. What am I saying? Oh, and he loses it again. This will be an overtake from Utkarsh on Keeves. Keeves has kind of lost some concentration during that battle with Mindful Wasp. And he, instead of gaining a position, he drops a position to Mindful Wasp and also one to Utkarsh. And now he finds himself in a Williams sandwich. Very difficult situation because both the Williams driver are very experienced, very good drivers. MCFC just got back in the season and he's just been magnificent. He improved race in, race out. He's currently in P6, which I didn't write him off in P6 during the beginning of the season. And we've also got Utkarsh, who's been a very consistent driver, a very good couple of results. Tashkern seems like he lost a couple of positions. What is happening here in Sector 3? I think Mr. Wiggles lost his car. And what did Mansell do? Does he have a broken front wing? Might have been an incident between Mansell and, who was it? Mr. Wiggles. As we want to go back to Mindful Wasp, he's right on the tail of Calvin Racing, but it seems like Calvin Racing has a little bit more straight line speed. Slipstream for Mindful Wasp will not do it, I'm afraid, but if he makes a very aggressive move like he did before, he will be able to make that overtake. And he's getting caught by his own teammate there a little bit. Energy Dan down the inside. We've got a beautiful POV. Oh, look at that. Calvin Racing will be able to make that overtake on Energy Dan. DRS wide open right now. What will Mindful Wasp be doing? He won't be able to make that overtake on his teammate, I think. Will he be able to? I don't think so. Energy Dan still down the inside. Calvin Racing with a very late break, as he's going a little bit too deep into that corner. Here comes Mindful Wasp making a move on his teammate. And I really hope there's no incidents to be done between Mindful Wasp and Energy Dan. Doesn't look like it. Energy Dan is just going to patiently wait behind his teammate. But he might be a little bit frustrated with that overtake from Mindful Wasp right there. Oh, and I think there's been a little incident, a slight incident in Sector 2 that might have been Doran. As of course, Keeves is currently still in P5. But Utkarsh has caught up to Energy Dan at the moment. And they will be within DRS zone. I think Energy Dan will drop out of the DRS. And he has a little bit of a snap coming through that last part of the track. Does that mean his tires are overheating? It possibly is. Mindful Wasp on the toe of Calvin Racing. It won't be enough. As Calvin Racing seems to have found his space. He's found his form, his rhythm. And Mindful Wasp is still going to go for it. Look at that, a very deep dive bomb. I think Calvin Racing will just benefit from that little mistake. Trying to make a switchback work, and he does indeed. Goes a little bit too aggressively onto the curb. Now Energy Dan will be able to make that overtake on the Red Bull driver. As Calvin Racing, of course, doesn't have the DRS. Will he drop another position to Keeves? I wouldn't say so. Keeves, oh, and he has to brake a little bit later because Calvin Racing switched. Ooh, and both the AlphaTauri drivers going a little bit too deep into that corner, having an awkward line. I think Calvin Racing will have to come back on track. Around the outside he goes. Energy Dan, will he keep the position? Does look like it. Calvin Racing down the inside, and it looks like he's not giving up. It looks like he's not giving up. Energy Dan is the smarter one out of the two, and he backs out of it, gives back that position to Calvin Racing, and now he has just have to work his way back up into P2. A little bit of a corner cut there from Keeves. Right on the tail of Energy Dan. Will it be enough for Keeves to make the overtake? Doesn't look like it. DRS wide open. They've kind of lost the DRS to Mindful Wasp. Mindful Wasp will be able to run away if Energy Dan makes it more difficult for Calvin Racing. Through Sector 1 and Sector 2, here they come. Energy Dan has dropped 2 positions since his qualifying start. Well, qualifying, what did I say? I don't know. Pole position, but here comes Keeves. DRS wide open. He's got such more straight line speed. Look at that. And now look at that. Calvin Racing did not have the DRS, so Keeves was able to gain a lot of time, a lot of significant time through Sector 1. And now he's going to have the DRS again. Calvin Racing, who does not have the DRS once again, and he's dropped a little bit of time to Mindful Wasp. Also has that penalty. He has to keep in mind 3 seconds of a time penalty to Calvin Racing. Usually he's the one guy that doesn't get a single penalty, but this time around he does get a penalty. I think Utkarsh is also one of those guys who doesn't get a penalty usually. I mean, I can confirm he doesn't have a penalty yet. So Energy Dan at the moment in P4, Keeves in P3, and we're only looking at a top 5 battle. I should be watching at the back of the grid too. Seems like Doran is on the tail of Mr. Wiggles. I've totally zoned out in Sector 5, in the top 5. My apologies, guys, to anyone who has had a great battle. I'm really sorry, but the top 5 is just so exciting at the moment. Prep caught up to the top 6. And also, we might be seeing a move from Doran down the straight on Mr. Wiggles pretty soon. Seems like Keeves has made the overtake on Calvin Racing finally with the DRS. So we might want to go on board with Energy Dan here. Still has the DRS, so we'll be able to catch up to Calvin Racing. Probably won't be enough to grab that position though, as both Williams drivers are quite hungry. Look at that. Utkarsh around the outside. Energy Dan, who Doesn't have a lot of straight line speed, but right enough to keep Utgars behind him. Oh, Utgars will be able to make a switchback work. Look at that, look at that, look at that, look at that move from Utgars. Oh, it was almost enough from Utgars to make the switchback work, but Energy Dan was the smarter one of the two. Mindful was a bit elbows out with Calvin there, made him drop out DRS. 100% I do agree with that statement, but I think a little bit of elbows is alright, as long as it, you know, as long as it doesn't affect a lot of positions. Right now, I mean, he did lose a position to Keeves, but I think the elbows were right on the limit. Right on the limit. Tashkaren with the fastest lap for now, 120.4. He's currently only in P20, so I think he has crashed out in Sector 2. Let's have a quick look with Calvin Racing again, as he's on the tail of Keeves. And Keeves is making it really difficult for those guys to get back to Mindful Was. Mindful Was has got clean air. He's got a clean race, and I think he might be up for this race win. Depends on where the guys are going to be pitting, when the guys are going to be pitting, because the undercut is very, very powerful here around Mexico. Last week I had a race around Mexico with a couple of guys, and there was someone coming into the pits, and he had a 4-second gap to the guys who came into the pits the lap after. So an undercut is very, very powerful here around Mexico, and I would definitely suggest any of the guys to do it. MCFC making the overtake on Energy Dan. We might want to go back to a broadcast mode. Ellie has retired in the pit lane, and does her teammate also retire in the pit lane? Doesn't look like it. He's coming back out on pits, coming back out on track. It's always a little bit unfortunate to see drivers retire in the pit lane, also because they do receive points for every position they finish in. So it's a bit unfortunate. Energy Dan with a 3-second time penalty. And as things are looking like right now, it seems like Utgars is getting back into the top 3. Here comes Prep down the inside of Energy Dan, was looking to make it, but backed out of it again. Keeves dropping a position. What has happened to Keeves? Oh, and there goes Calvin Racing. Their tires might be done. Oh, and there's a little bit of an incident between MCFC and Calvin Racing. Keeps around the outside of Calvin Racing. Calvin Racing uses the elbows though. DRS wide open. Who will have the DRS? Does Calvin Racing have the DRS? I think he does indeed. They're going 3 wide. They're going 4 wide possibly. Keeps trying to make the overtake on MCFC around the outside. We've got Energy Dan down the inside of Calvin Racing. And they're going to go side by side through turn 1, 2, and 3. It will be possibly Energy Dan running away with that P5. Doesn't look like it. Calvin Racing, who's got a better exit coming through that part of the track. Here comes Energy Dan around the outside. Prep is just finding himself in a very difficult situation. Oh, okay, Noldus, thank you for letting me know. Apparently, Ellie was lagging like crazy, so it was better for her to retire in the pits. Here comes Energy Dan. It's not giving up, though. He's not giving up, but Calvin Racing runs away with that position as he's just got ahead of Energy Dan right there. A 3.2 second gap from Utgars to Mindful Wasp. So it seems like Mindful Wasp is definitely pushing the limits here around Mexico. Doesn't have... Oh, and I think Keeves' tires are gone. Keeves' tires are gone because there's no other explanation than that to slide your way through Sector 2. It might be overheating. It might be tire... I mean, it might be... How do you say that? Tire overheating, tire usage, tire wear, all that kind of stuff, you know. Shit Wi-Fi, LMAO. No worries, Ellie. No worries. It is what it is, you know. Here comes Calvin Racing. Possibly an overtake. Keeves does not have the DRS apparently. Calvin Racing will go for it. Down the inside he goes and he makes up that position. Oh, I need to sneeze. My apologies, lad. I had to sneeze. Oof. That came from very far. Oh, and I think the V-Car is right on the tail of his teammate. Will he be able to make that overtake? Yes, indeed he will. There comes the V-Car past his teammate. And I think the V-Car has chosen to go onto the medium tires. Indeed he has. Nobody has to come into the pits yet on the medium tires, I think. Let's have a quick look. Tire-wise, look at that. The top 12 on the hard tires. And all the other guys on the medium tires have either dropped out of the top 15 or have gone onto another set of medium tires, such as the V-Car. Did the V-Car start on the mediums? I'm not sure, though. Let's go back to the position changes. 12 positions gained for MCFC, so he's definitely having a great race at the moment. He's got that hungry Englishman on his tail. But the Englishman should be afraid of the Kraken, as you can see on the back of MCFC's car right there. The Kraken. I'm going to call him the Kraken from now on. MCFC. That's quite a cool name. Keeves is also right on the tail of those guys. And you know what the thing is? Being in such a long DRS train for such a long time, you got to keep your concentration to the game. And that is usually a very difficult aspect here in Mexico, because you don't have any free room. You always get attacked from behind. You always get attacked from in front of you. You never know what's going to happen to you. You might lose your car. You might lose your tire. You might lose your halo. I don't know. You might lose your head. And that's a very important aspect, because the concentration span usually of a race or of a normal human being is getting lower and lower. And that's a problem here around Mexico, because you need to be aware of every possibility in every corner. And I mean, this is a very good exercise for everyone struggling with concentration span. You have to be concentrated to be able to, you know, finish a race of 36 laps around Mexico. That is just the thing. In Mexico, I find it a very beautiful track. It finds himself in the heart of Mexico City. And of course, Mexico City finds himself in Mexico. Mexico, a country in South America. And it doesn't look like there's going to be a move. No, it's North America. South America. No, it's not South America. It's North America. My apologies, guys. Oh, my days. My geography. Look at that. Mr. Wiggles with a 3-second time penalty. Mindful is struggling on fuel, apparently. So he's going to lift a little bit. Seems like Utgars is getting back to the tail of a Mindful was pretty soon. 1.9 seconds. Here comes Calvin Racing. Wants to go down the inside. MCFC leaves enough space for the Red Bull driver to get past. Down the inside he goes. He had a little bit of an incident before. And now Keeves takes that position. I think he will make a two-way overtake. Here comes Keeves down the straight. DRS wide open. Also, Prep is trying to make himself useful in this little battle. Calvin Racing up into P3. Keeves has nothing to lose. He's got no 3-second time penalty. And I don't think he'll get back to Utgars and Mindful Wasp as easy as it sounds, because they're ahead of 4.2 seconds. Let's have a quick look at Mindful Wasp. As Martin said, apparently he's struggling on fuel. Let's have a quick look at the telemetry. So he is indeed struggling a little bit with fuel. It's still yellow, so it should be good to go. But, I mean, you still have to be cautious. Let's have a quick look at some other guys. Nobody is struggling with fuel. Sorry, guys, for the quick switch. Yeah, there we go. Should be all good. Utgars is definitely catching up, though, so we might be seeing another good result from Utgars. I'm just going to have a quick look with the standings. We might want to go on board with MCFC again, who dropped 2 positions, 3 positions possibly. Let's have a quick look. Let's go on Discord and let's open the standings. It's always such a hassle to find those standings. It's in a document, and I have to open the document in Discord, go to the page, all that kind of stuff. It's just a little bit annoying, but it is what it is. Alright, so Mansell is still in P1 in the Drivers' Championship, only finds himself in P10, so we might be seeing Keeves taking the lead of the Drivers' Championship. That might be a possibility, because he's currently in P2, might be able to run away with the race win, depends on where... Oh no, it's Utgars. Oh, my bad. So Keeves is currently in P4, will possibly get P3 due to a penalty to Calvin Racing. As I'm just going to have a quick look where he finished last race. He finished in P3. The winner was a Mindful Wasp, who is currently tied for P3 with Calvin Racing. And it looks like he's going to run away a little bit from Calvin Racing. Might be running away from Utgars, from Keeves too, because Keeves only has 6 points of a gap to Calvin Racing and Mindful Wasp. So Utgars in P5, if I'm not mistaken. P6 actually. Cassidy is in P5. There's a couple of guys coming into pits. What happened to Keeves there? Oh, he gets a 5-second time penalty for a collision. Oh, and also Prep. Oh, they might be able to get that removed though. I think that might be... Oh, and Keeves had a broken front wing. Oh, he was racing with a broken front wing. I think he didn't know that either. Just look at where he drops now. I think he will be dropping behind Prep and the V-car. This is not great for Keeves, because he had a broken front wing that adds about 5 seconds to his time, and now Oliver finds himself in P4. Did he come into the pits already? Don't think so. Maggi around the outside. He won't have DRS yet. I'm just going to blow my nose here real quick, because I'm having a little bit of a blocked nose at the moment. And it's making me sound very nasally. So I'll be right back. Hang on tight, guys. Right, and we're back at it again with Maggi on the tail of Oliver. They're currently in the top 5. They've entered the top 5, which is a great accomplishment. You can see MCFC getting back into P3. He's got 12 positions gained, but the biggest winner for now is Oliver, who's gained 15 positions, came all the way from P19. I'm starting to guess who started in P20. I think that is Gox, who's currently in P13. But let's have a quick look at Maggi here, coming down the inside. We've got Joshua in the comms box. Well, in the live stream, he says, "Come on, Keeves." I mean, Keeves, you need to do a little bit more pressuring because, you know, he's got a broken front wing. He had some issues. Cassidy coming into the pits, and this was what I was saying. The undercut has just been so powerful, and I think Cassidy just had a little bit of a crash. That might be the reason why. Keeves finds himself 5 seconds behind Energy Dan, which is a very difficult situation he finds himself in at the moment. Calvin Racing has ran away from Energy Dan a little bit, which is not great. Energy Dan, of course, on the tail of the V car. And I think he will be able to make that overtake anytime soon. He's on the fresh mediums. I think the V car is on old mediums. He came into the pits around lap 12, if I'm not mistaken. Lap 14, actually, for the V car. And he's once again going on to the mediums. And I think the V car is kind of hoping for a late safety car for some reason. He will be going on to the medium tires then, as all the guys in front of him are still having to come to the pits. As Utgars is one of the guys coming into the pits right now. 21 lap old hard tires. Where will he end up in? Oh, he will be behind the Red Bull driver. I can tell you that for sure. It seems like Maggi is coming into the pits. So is an Alfa Romeo. Who's that Alfa Romeo coming into the pits? No ID. Utgars might be ahead of Calvin Racing. Let's have a quick look. It will be a very close battle to the corner. And it will be Calvin Racing around the outside. The V car, I don't think he will make it too difficult for Utgars, will he? No, he won't be. Calvin Racing does have the DRS this time around. And Utgars is going to be struggling because he doesn't have that DRS. But he has two lap fresher medium. So that should be an advantage going further into this race. The guys have gone from hards to the mediums. And hopefully they can run these mediums till the end of the race. Shouldn't be a problem, I think. And the V car, as I said, has to hope for a late safety car because otherwise his strategy isn't going to pay off. He's going to drop back all the way to P13, 14 maybe, right behind Gox or Doran. Let's go on board with Energy Dan here, trying to keep the toe off Prep. Doesn't look like he's able to do so. 1 second behind the Ferrari driver. Will he be having a DRS? Does look like it. Keeves now getting a 3-second time penalty, and that is something he couldn't afford. Did manage to get back to Energy Dan a little bit closer. 3.3 seconds at the moment. He was 5 seconds behind Energy Dan a couple of laps ago, but he got that 3-second time penalty, which is going to be a very big punishment for the Alpine driver. He dropped back to P19 due to a broken front wing, due to a couple of circumstances. And here comes Prep down the inside, and he makes the overtake on the V car. Fresher mediums for Prep is what did the job. And also the DRS, of course, the V car, who did not have the DRS, if I'm not mistaken. And Utgars dropped a couple of seconds to Calvin Racing, 1.7 to be exact. And I don't think he will be able to catch that toe again of the Red Bull driver. No safety cars yet in Mexico, which is quite of a surprise, if I'm being honest. You usually have a lot of safety cars around Mexico, but it doesn't look like that's going to be the case this time around. Here in Speedforce Racing. We still have 13 laps to go, so I'm not going to celebrate too early, but it would be kind of a surprise having no safety car, if I'm being honest. QWERTY getting a 3-second time penalty. He finds himself all the way in P18. Still a couple of good points for the Aston Martin driver. He's just very consistent. all the way at the bottom of the grid. Mindful Wasp coming into the pits. So is MCFC possibly. Yes, indeed he is. And they're going to drop positions. They're going to drop positions. They're going to get passed by Calvin Racing. Oh. Mindful Wasp stayed out for too long, if I'm being honest. He drops to P4. Behind Prep even. Prep, how did he manage to get into the top 3? He kind of lost track of his pace. And into the top 3, he's just very consistent at the moment. Oliver goes onto the soft tires. Is currently in P12, but will be able to catch a lot of positions being on those soft tires. So we do need to keep our eyes open, close to the Haas driver at the who's currently in P12. Let's go on board with Cassidy here, trying to make the overtake on Mansell. He's got 1 lap fresher and medium tires. Will it be enough? I don't think so. Energy Dan has got the DRS down the straight. It might possibly be an overtake on the Ferrari driver. Both drivers running the same tires, and Mindful was being on fresher tires. I think Energy Dan has to let his teammate go through just for to get back to... I mean, not really actually, because I don't think they will be able to get back to Utcars and Calvin Racing. I'm not 100% sure. Here comes Keeves, DRS wide open. And the V-Car is not doing a bad job, if I'm being honest. You know, being on 10 lap mediums, he doesn't seem like he's struggling. But he will have to go into another set of medium, or not medium, soft tires, because he won't be able to finish the race on medium. That is a possibility. I mean, that is a problem for the strategy. And let's go on board with Cassidy, as it seems like he got overtaken by Oliver. As of right now, DRS wide open. Oliver making the overtake on 2 drivers at the same time. Mansell and Cassidy both losing a position to Oliver. I mean, it's not too bad of a problem for Mansell, as it's his own teammate, but Cassidy will not be happy with that, as he finds himself in a battle for P11 with Mansell. A 3-second time penalty for Mindful Wasp. And let's have a quick look with the penalties, as we haven't tackled those yet. 8-second time penalty for Prep. We've got 3 seconds for Dan, 3 seconds for Mindful Wasp. And I think Mindful Wasp might have been able to get into the top 3 if he didn't get that penalty. But he just got it. Down the inside goes Mindful Wasp. And I think both the AlphaTauri drivers don't want to give up a position. Here comes Energy Dan still down the inside. Mindful Wasp might be a little frustrated with his teammate, but I can't blame Energy Dan. He put himself on pole, but they did just lose the DRS from Prep. And now it's just a very easy overtake for a Mindful Wasp with the use of DRS. Here they come. And beautiful overtake by a Mindful Wasp. And he got back within the DRS of Prep, so that's great news. Oliver with the fastest lap of 118.5. He's trying to catch the toe of MCFC, who's in P9. He dropped to P9, quite of a surprising result, but I think that's mainly due to his late pit stop. He will have fresher tires at the end of the race, but I don't think it will gain him a lot of time, which he lost again. Mindful was making the overtake on Prep. Beautiful overtake. As he went down the inside in turn 4, here comes Energy Dan. Does not have the DRS, so he needs to catch a little bit up to the Ferrari driver. And it does look like he's going to be able to. He's got very high wings, the AlphaTauri driver, but will it be enough? It looks like Prep is feeling very comfortable through the S's at the moment. But Mindful Wasp, I mean, being on those fresher medium tires is definitely giving him an advantage at the moment. Both Mercedes drivers at the back of the grid. We might want to go on board with Matt G here, as the V-car is not giving up yet. He's got to come into the pits pretty soon, I think. He's been on those mediums for 13 laps already, and he can go onto the soft tires, but he chooses not to do so. Will come into the pits right now. He's listened to the live stream, I think. No, the live stream probably came out later. But MCFC is now up to P8, possibly P7, possibly P6, as Keeves has got that 5-second time penalty. Oh, Prep has that 5-second time penalty due to an incident with Keeves, of course, and Keeves has that 5-second time penalty due to an incident with Calvin Racing. So it was a 3-way penalty. I mean, a 2-way penalty, but I mean, it was a 3-way incident, but a 2-way penalty. And I am pretty sure they will be able to remove that 5-second time penalty. Doran retired in the pit lane as he got a 5-second time penalty. And MCFC is having his hands full getting past Mad G at the moment. Both drivers having a 3-second time penalty. I'm just going to have a quick look with the tires here. MCFC running fresher tires than Mad G, so it shouldn't be too much of a problem getting past the Ferrari driver, but it seems harder than it is. It seems like it's harder than it is. CFC. Oh, it's not going to be enough. He's got a DRS though down the straight. There's no moves to be made in the top 6, as nobody is within 1 second of each other. Here comes MCFC, DRS wide open. He's got no ERS left, so I'm not really sure why he's actually using the ERS, because he had the DRS anyway. Magi did not have the DRS, and you know he wasn't gonna make that overtake anytime soon anyway. So, I mean, it is what it is. And the grid is kind of spreading out a little bit here. Energy Dan just caught up to Prep again. And as I said, the grid is spreading out. You know, you've got Calvin Racing running away from Utkarsh. Not by too much, though. I think Utkarsh is catching up again. But he just needs to be within that 3 seconds of Calvin Racing, and he will win the race. Which is great news for the Williams driver, of course. And also Mindful Wasp is catching up to Utkarsh at the moment. 1.5 seconds. We've got Energy Dan catching up to Prep. He's going to win that position anyway due to that 8-second time penalty. But we might be seeing that 5-second time penalty getting removed from Prep. Cassidy on the tail of Oliver, so he's not giving up yet. And eventually those soft tires will run out. 7 more laps to go on the soft tires at the moment. So it's going to be such a hard challenge for Oliver to make those work at the end of the race. And he will definitely be struggling through the S's. I think he's already struggling a little bit because look how easy it is for Cassidy to keep the toe. Or Cassidy just has a lot of straight line speed and speed through the corners and all that kind of stuff. Because he also pulled the gap from a Mansell of about 4 seconds, which does indicate that he has a lot of speed coming through Mexico. Mexico Grand Prix, Autodromo Hermano Romes or something like that. I'm not too sure what the Grand Prix, no, not the Grand Prix, but the track is called, if I'm being honest. As we are going to go back to Cassidy here on the tail of Oliver. But he does have that penalty. Oliver, who's just been very consistent with his penalties and his track limits at the moment. You can see the guys in the top 8, 7 of them have a penalty. Utkarsh once again being one of those guys who doesn't have a penalty. And I say it every time, lap in, race in, race out. Utkarsh is one of the most consistent guys here in Speed Force Racing. All 3 of them caught up to, both of them caught up to Calvin Racing. So it will be a 3-way battle for the race win. And maybe Calvin Racing's tires are already gone. Maybe they're already out of their lives. Mindful was being on the freshest mediums, as he wants to make that move down the inside. Utkarsh will now just be able to run away. I think Calvin Racing, if he's able to get past Mindful was, if he's able to get past Calvin Racing, he might be able to battle for a P1, because Utkarsh's tires are going to be running out pretty soon too. Calvin Racing will just lose time to Utkarsh, I think. Look at how rapid they got back to Calvin Racing, how fast they got back to Calvin Racing. That is just a beauty. Look at how much time Calvin Racing is losing through the S's on Utkarsh. It's just a matter of time before Utkarsh is pulling away 1 second, 2 seconds. And it's still 6 more laps to go. And I think Calvin Racing will drop out of the DRS. Depends on where he's gonna cross the line. Here's the DRS line. Was he? Yeah, he was within within 1 second of Utkarsh. Mindful was will have the DRS once again. Wide open goes the AlphaTauri driver. ERS wide open too. No, he's not using any ERS. Quite surprising. But he's going to go down the inside. Mindful was making the overtake on Calvin Racing. And now he there is something he shouldn't do, and that is bringing Calvin Racing along with him to Utkarsh. DRS will be wide open for a Mindful Wasp down the second straight. I don't think Utkarsh will have to worry about anything. He's got no penalties. He's got nothing to worry about. He's 1 second ahead of Calvin Racing and Mindful Wasp. He finds himself in a very comfortable position. His medium tires will still last quite a bit of time. But to me, it's such a surprise how close and how fast Mindful Wasp got back to Calvin Racing. And Utkarsh too. It's just the effect of bidding a little bit later, I guess. I told the guys it was such a great way of undercutting. But it seems like Calvin Racing came a little bit too early into the pits. 11 lap old medium tires. He still has to go on those medium tires for about 5 laps. And I don't think they'll last. I don't think he'll be able to catch the toe of Mindful Wasp for any time longer. Keeves on the tail end of MCMC, and I think Keeves, after a very difficult period in around the mid of the race, I think he's climbed back up quite nicely. He had a broken front wing. He had a couple of penalties he had to tackle, and right now he finds himself back into the top 6, possibly into the top 5 if he can get back to Prep, who's been overtaken by Energy Dan already. So I want to go on board with Mindful Wasp here again. He's got the fresher medium tires. He was a little bit faster coming through Sector 1. It seems like Calvin Racing is losing the toe of these two. And now Mindful Wasp has to do something and getting past the Williams driver as soon as possible and create a 3-second gap to Utkarsh as soon as possible, but I don't think he'll be able to. Utkarsh will just abuse that DRS down the straight. Here comes Mindful Wasp around the outside, tries to work around the track limits, but backs out of it again. 3-second time penalty for Alex Hawk, as you can see on the top of your screen. So it seems like Utkarsh is putting himself in a difficult position at the moment. Nothing he could have done to prevent this difficult position, but I think he's just had to be a little bit smarter, letting Mindful Wasp go past in Sector 2, entering Sector 3 right there, as now he's just going to get overtaken with the use of DRS. And also, Mindful Wasp will have that DRS again down the second straight, and then Utkarsh will just lose some more time through the S's, and I think it will be difficult to get back within that DRS 1 second of Mindful Wasp. So he should have played it very smart, which in my opinion he didn't do that quite specifically. He should have been within the DRS. He shouldn't be in P. He should be in P2 coming down the straight, but he wasn't P1. So that is a little bit of a difficulty for Utkarsh. As you can see, already dropped out of the 1 second. So Mindful Wasp just has to push a little bit more to get out of that 1 second, and then he can try and push a little bit more, getting back out of that 3 seconds of Utkarsh and run away with the race win. It's looking like a hard challenge at the moment to get away from Utkarsh. 8 tenths, 9 tenths for a Mindful Wasp. But here in Sector 3 is definitely where you want to gain a little bit of time due to, high wings and all that kind of stuff. A lot of downforce. What will Prep be doing? Seems like he finds himself still behind Energy Dan, and the problem is he's not going to get past Energy Dan as easy as possible. I want to go on board with Cassidy here. He called back up to Oliver. Oliver, who's currently struggling on those soft tires, and I couldn't blame him. And 9 lap, 10 lap old soft tires. We're entering lap 34 out of the 36. Still 3 more laps to go. Keeps getting past MCFC once again. Energy Dan getting the overtake around the outside of Prep. Prep, who I think was battling with a DRS. And who has the DRS out of these two at the moment? Seems like that's going to be Prep again. Around the outside he goes. Prep making the overtake down the straight. Beautiful overtake. And also Keeves making the overtake on MCFC. It looked like they were going in slow motion there for a little bit. Energy Dan trying to make the overtake. It doesn't look like it. Getting overtaken by Prep is not a very easy thing to cope with. And as you can see in the top 2 at the moment, Mindful Wasp is running away a little bit. 1.7 seconds at the moment. which is of course very good. We've got a little bit of a battle here, three-way battle between Oliver, Cassidy, and Mansell. No, it's not Mansell, it's Matt G, as a matter of fact, who is in P8 at the moment. Oliver doesn't have a penalty yet, so if I were him, I would let Cassidy go past and just benefit from the battles between Matt G and Cassidy. Oh, yellow flag in Sector 3. That might be a Mansell getting a 10-second time penalty. Is he already out of fuel? Don't tell me he's already out of fuel. No, he's not out of fuel yet. Okay. Here comes Oliver making the overtake on Matt G. And he's up into P8. And MCFC having a heated battle with Keeves too. And look at the top of your screen, guys. A 1.9 second gap from Utgars to Mindful Wasp. Will Mindful Wasp be able to pull away? 3 seconds off Utgars. 3 seconds is what he needs. He keeps getting a little bit distracted by this Alfa Romeo at the moment. That is Mr. Wiggles. And I hope he's not behind the Alfa Romeo through the S's. Doesn't look like it. A little bit of an awkward line there from Mr. Wiggles. 2.1 seconds. It might be right enough for Mindful Wasp. And he's also possibly going to get the DRS from the Mercedes driver here. Depends on whether he's within 1 second of that Mercedes driver. I don't think so. He's not within 1 second. 2.3 seconds. 2.3 seconds. Will it be enough for Mindful Wasp? Is he pushing? Does he have enough ERS fuel left? That is my question. Oh, he's got no fuel left. He's got no fuel left. That is a problem for Mindful Wasp. He's got no fuel left. Utgars might possibly be able to run away with this race win. Mindful Wasp does not have any fuel left. Energy Dan. DRS wide open. ERS wide open. We're heading into the last lap of this race, and we've seen some very heated battles between Energy Dan and Prep. And Energy Dan cannot be happy with that position because he needs to be in front of Prep. Because if Prep gets that 5-second time penalty removed... Oh, but he's got 11. Okay, no worries. He's got 6 seconds of track warning penalties, so shouldn't matter too much. Here comes Keeves on the tail of MCFC. And we want to have a look at Sector 2 and Sector 3. If there is a yellow flag, that means that Mindful Wasp is struggling with fuel. It looks like Keeves is struggling with his fuel too. Look at that. How much is he struggling by? Will he be in front of MCFC or will he be behind him? He should be in front of him, but I think that will be no option. MCFC running away. Yellow flag, and that's what I was talking about, guys. Mindful Wasp running out of fuel. Utgars will run away with the race win. And I think Mindful Wasp will still get P2. Not a bad result at all. And Keeves is also going to struggle. Is not going to have is not going to have any fuel left coming around the last corner. And that will be a P7 for Keeves. And Oliver with a surprising penalty there. I think he would have been able to get into P7 if he didn't get that penalty. But Keeves, I mean, he dropped back to P9 at the moment, but he possibly will get that 5-second time penalty removed. That is something for the stewards later during this race. Let's go back to the V-car who's making the overtake on Mansell. Mansell who's possibly got a problem with fuel. Don't think so. Alex, Mark Querty, and Mr. Wiggles already came across the line. What will Shaggy be doing? He's still in Sector 2, so it will be a long time before he enters the pit lane again, comes across the line again. But guys, I mean, it's just been such an interesting race with penalties, strategies, guys coming into the pits earlier than other guys, guys coming into the pits later than other guys, all that kind of stuff. It's just been very chaotic. Fuel has also been a very important indicator here. It seems like Oliver came 19,000 short of making the overtake on Prep. Of course, that 5-second time penalty of Prep might get removed too, so he will possibly be bumped up again to P5. That means that MCFC is going to drop back to P6. And that is going to be your Mexican Grand Prix here in Speed Force Racing. I hope you guys enjoyed this as much as I did. And I'm going to finish off the stream here, guys. Just going to have a quick look through the standings. Your driver of the day will be Oliver, apparently. I'm going to remove my camera. And here we have got the results of the Mexican Grand Prix. So it will be Utkarsh in P1, Mindful Wasp running away with a P2, and the fastest lap, a 118.0, not bad at all. Galvin Racing in P3, Energy Dan in P4, and MCFC in P5. Further, we've got Prep, Oliver, Cassidy, Keeves, Magi, the V-Car, Mansell, Tushker, Gox. We've got Shaggy, Alex Hawk, Mark QWERTY, Mr. Wiggles, and then our DNFs, who are gonna be Doran and Ellie. So guys, as I said already, thank you very much for watching. My name is Phoebe Thomas. Make sure to check out my socials underneath. And I hope you guys are going to be having a great Monday evening or Tuesday morning or whenever you're watching this live stream again. Guys, I'm going to head out. Peace out.